Getting to your campsite can use up a ton of energy. I mean, just getting ready for a camping trip is already a ton of work. So the last thing you want is to have things go wrong at camp. My name is Dan, and in this video, we're talking about 6 mistakes that every new camper makes at the campsite. Okay, I see this one a lot, and I know there's a lot of you out there that probably do this, especially if you're a new camper. One of the biggest mistakes I see campers make is they love to feed the animals, especially at camp. This is such a big mistake. Now, yes, the chipmunks are cute, the squirrels are cute, even the mice can potentially be cute, but they are also a huge nuisance, especially for people who come back to that campsite time and time again, because eventually those animals become trained. And then when they become trained, they come after your food. And when they come after your food, you're not gonna be happy because it's gonna contaminate your food because they ate through it. And it's also gonna ruin whatever you've got your food in, if it's a backpack or a food bag or something. So if you are out there feeding the animals, that is a huge mistake. Please stop doing it. Don't feed animals at camp. Feed them in your backyard, whatever you wanna do at home, but at camp, big mistake. Another big mistake that I see a lot of new campers make is not realizing the elevation of the campsite that they're choosing. So sometimes they could choose a location that's like too low, as in maybe a valley or something just low off of the trail. Or sometimes they pick a location that's just simply too high. You don't really want to do either of those. You want to try to pick a location that's sort of in the middle. And the reason for that is because if you pick a location that's too low, what can happen is at night, cold air will come in and can potentially settle down in that valley or that low area that you decided to pick a campsite, and can really make that night a lot colder than you thought. The other problem is sometimes campers will pick an elevation that's just way too high. And the problem with that is what if it storms? What if there's a lot of high winds coming through? You could potentially be setting yourself up for some serious danger. All right, another huge mistake that I see a lot of new campers make is that they set up their tent or even their hammock in a location where there's dangerous things that could potentially fall on them at night. So when you get to camp, you want to look up. Look for anything that could potentially fall on you, like a dead tree or a dead branch. Here's a prime example. I actually set up my hammock here one time between these two trees, and coming back here now to film, I noticed that there is a tree that fell right where my hammock was. So had I been sleeping here at night, that probably would not have been the best thing for me in the middle of the night. Okay, another huge mistake that I see new campers make all the time, especially when they get to camp and they're setting up their gear, is that they realize this is actually the first time they've ever set up their gear when they get to camp. Big mistake. You definitely don't want this to be the place where you like try or test out gear. I mean, you're not gonna have any data signal, so how are you gonna be able to connect to the internet to get me to help you on YouTube? It's not gonna happen. You're gonna be in a situation where you may be fighting dark, you might be fighting a rainstorm that's coming, you may have forgotten to bring things that the instructions told you to bring. Just a terrible idea. So obviously, set it up at home in your backyard before you even think about going out on your backpacking trip or your camping trip. At least then you'll understand exactly what you need to do before you get out to your campsite. Okay, another huge mistake that I see a lot of new campers make is that they just go out and buy gear without actually like talking to somebody about what they should be buying, which actually leads me to today's sponsor. Did you know that? Well, actually over at backcountry.com, they actually have former Olympians, former athletes, and guess what? Former trail guides who know their stuff, especially when it comes to camping. So head over to backcountry.com, click the link in the description below. It'll take you right over to their website, and you can click on the chat function. When you click on the chat function, it will bring up the professionals over there, and they will help you. Maybe you need to ask them what kind of tent you need to buy. Maybe you need to ask them what kind of a sleeping bag you need to purchase. They also give me a coupon code. It's Becker15. You can look in the description below, click on the link, it'll take you right over there, enter that coupon code. Hopefully it'll save you a couple bucks, and try it out. Another big mistake that I see a lot of campers make is that they pick their campsite that's either too far away from a water source or it's too near to a water source. So if you're too far from a water source, that can be problematic because, well, you don't have access to water. It's nice to be kind of near to a water source because then you have access to water while you're there, obviously, and you didn't have to bring a ton of water to that campsite, so that's kind of nice. But the other situation is that you could actually be too close to water, and what I mean by that is sometimes if you're too close to water, and especially if it's like stagnant water, you're gonna have a lot of bugs, like mosquitoes that are gonna be there. So you wanna be sort of a reasonable distance away from water if you can do it. Now, I totally understand there's a lot of situations where you're just not gonna have access to water, and that's always difficult because you had to bring water to get there, and that's just the way it is sometimes. But if you can get good intel, if you can find out ahead of time if there's a water source there, maybe you gotta call a ranger station or a state park or a national park and just kind of ask about the water situation. Or you can find out about seasonally if there's water there. Maybe it's a time of year where the streams have dried up or not dried up. That's always good, helpful information to kind of prep you guys for for your water sources at camp. All right, another big mistake that I see a lot of new campers make is that they set up their tent facing like middle of the night obstacles. All right, here's what I mean by that. When you are setting up your campsite and you're setting up your tent, you want to make sure that the door of your tent isn't facing like an obstacle, say a big boulder, a big rock, or some bushes, or especially like a cliff or something obviously that's going to go and be dangerous, maybe forcing you to fall down a hill in the middle of the night. The last thing you want to do is wake up in the middle of the night tired and exhausted and all of a sudden get up and just stumble over something and get hurt. So set up your tent so that it's obviously facing a safe direction, an open area, and kind of predetermine, like if you got to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, that this is the direction I need to walk, because it is so easy to be super tired in the middle of the night, get up, stumble, hurt yourself because you didn't pay attention to which way your tent was being set up. Now look, I know there's a ton more mistakes that campers make, like leaving garbage at campsites or having fires and starting wildfires and being a dummy with fires. So if you want to see more videos like this where we talk about stuff like that, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you on the next one.